Hello guys, today we are going to see the topic Double Dealing, which was written by William Wymark Jacobs. William Wymark Jacobs was an English author of short fiction and drama. His best remembered story is The Monkey's Paw. He was a short story writer and also a novelist. The summary of the story: Mr. Fred Carter was the protagonist of the story. Along with the Londoner, Mr. Fred Carter enjoyed their holidays by inhaling the salt smell of sea. At the time, a couple of men came there and greets him as good evening. One is Mr. Evans and he is above 50, and another one is his son named Jim. Mr. Fred Carter also replied good evening, and Mr. Evans said, "Do you call yourself as a human being?" For that, Mr. Fred Carter replied, "I'm not going to say about myself as human being or any other creature, but you are misunderstanding me." For that, Jim said, "You should not waste your time to speak with him," to his father. And Mr. Fred Carter was puzzled. What is going on here? What is going here? Likewise, he puzzled. At the time, Mr. Evans says, "You left my daughter Nancy 4 years before and you said you are going to marry her. Last 4 years she is mourning about you." Likewise, he said, and Mr. Fred Carter again said that you are totally misunderstanding me. At the time, Mr. Evans said, "I want to kill him. I want to kill this person, like throwing him in the sea." For that, Jim said, "I also wanted to do like that, but we can't because Nancy will worry about him." So, three of them, they entered to a neat cottage, and there Jim goes to the first floor to knock the door of Nancy's room. When she opened the door, she was very happy because she is going to see her lover Bert Simons after 4 years. At the time, Mr. Fred Carter saw the engraving of the sailor's return. Then again, Jim came to the ground floor. Mr. Evans was very aggressive because nearby half an hour, she doesn't come to meet her lover, Bert Simons. For that, Jim replied, she is going to meet her lover after 4 years, so she wants to dress neatly and she wants to make up herself. That is the reason she is late. Likewise, he told. And when the door was opened, Mr. Fred Carter saw the bright eyes of Nancy. It searches where is Bert Simons, where is her lover. Likewise, it searches her eyes search, but she was totally upset because there is no Bert Simons. For that, Mr. Evans asked, "Are you a blind? Your lover is." And she replied, "Are you saying he is my lover? No, he is not my lover. Don't insult my lover." Likewise, she told, and Jim said, "You may forget your lover because after 4 years only you are meeting him. So can you identify the nose of your Bert Simons? This is only." Likewise, showing Mr. Fred Carter. For that, she replied, "No, this is not his eyes, his nose. And see, look at the eyes of him." For that also she replied the same. "This is not his eyes. The whole night if I see him, I can assure that he is not my Bert Simons." Yeah, because Bert Simons looked very handsome, not like him. Now Mr. Fred Cotter is very happy because at least she understand he is not Bert Simons. So there is no way. So Evans needs to allow him to go out, but with the condition, Mr. Evans, with condition, he said to Mr. Fred Carter, "You should not do it again." For that, Mr. Fred Carter also replied, "Okay, and I will not do it again." Likewise, he told. The next day, he came again and he accept, "I am Mr. Bert Simons." So when it is heard by Mr. Evans, he arrested him. And Mr. Fred Carter said, "The name Bert Simons, I used to love your daughter." So Mr. Evans gets very angry. That means he's very aggressive, and he wanted to arrest him completely. He should not go out. Likewise, he thought. For that, Mr. Fred Carter said, I will give my total amount, that is 7 pounds 18 shillings and 4 pence, with return train ticket, my chain, my penknife, and also few accessories. So without these things I am not able to go anywhere. So you should not worry about me. Likewise, he told. When he gave this, Mr. Evans swiped it all and keep it in his pocket. And he said, after marriage I will return you everything. After you marry my daughter, I will return you everything, he said. Mr. Evans said. So at the time of supper, all of them they are enjoying, but not Nancy. At the time, Mr. Fred Carter worries about that, and Mr. Evans said, "Let bygones be bygones. That's my idea, because you gave a lot of struggles to my daughter, so she needs time to take." The next day, her behavior changed a little bit, and she even filled half a pint of beer to him. And at the time of at tea time, both of them sit together, and she asked, "Do you remember what happened on that day?" That means, do you remember what you said that afternoon when I put the hot spoon of your neck? For that he replied, "Yes, I can remember, but I won't repeat." At the time, a man entered and asked Mr. Fred Carter, "How are you, Mr. Bert Simons?" So the man asked, "How are you, Mr. Bert Simons? I heard that you are lost." At the time, Mr. Fred Carter was confused. He doesn't know who he is. And he replied, "Did you forget Mr. Joe Wilson?" For that, he replied, "Yeah, yeah, Mr. Joe Wilson, how are you? How do you do?" Likewise, he replied. And at the time, he asked that off tweet lent you. Did you remember? Can you return it now? Likewise, he asked, and he was shocked. Mr. Fred Cotter was shocked. He doesn't know what to do, and however, he adjusted everything and sent him back. He sent Mr. Joe Wilson back. And within few minutes, the next man who plays a Vagus game named Beep Peep Boo in the door side, where that person's name is Mr. Ben Prout. And when the attention goes to Mr. Ben Prout, again, Mr. Fred Cotter was confused who he is. Mr. Ben Prout asked, "Did you remember me? I am Mr. Fred Cotter. Sorry, I am Mr. Bert Simons. So I gave you 2 quid to you 4 years before." Likewise, he said, and Mr. Fred Cotter again he needs to return him back, but it is not possible because at the time Nancy also entered and said that when we met him at first, you asked him to give 2 quid. Do you remember or not? Likewise, she replied. So he faced Mr. Evans and asked his total amount to return back. So Mr. Evans also gave this. Instead of 2 quid, he gives 2 pounds to him. And then within few minutes, three members came and got their settlement. So Mr. Evans gets anger and he called him as catcher. "You should not go. You should not be here. You should not be here hereafter. Sorry, you should not stay here. You because you are a cheater. You are a catcher." Likewise, he said, "You should go out of my home, out of my house." Likewise, Mr. Evans said. At the time, Mr. Fred Carter doesn't know what to do. He wants to return back. He wants to go out of the home, and Nancy was very very happy, and she came near to him and said, "Cheats never prosper. All of them are your fault only. If you are not acting like my Bert Simons, you are not losing anything." Likewise, she told. And Mr. Fred Cotter said that, "I wish I was Bert Simons." Now Mr. Evans puzzled and asked whether you are real Bert Simons or not. For that, Mr. Fred Cotter replied, "I am not Bert Simons. I am Mr. Fred Cotter only," he said. So he asked, "That means you didn't borrow anything from anyone, am I right?" Likewise, he asked. For that, Nancy replied, "No one bought anything from anyone. This is only the punishment I gave him. Likewise, she replied, so Mr. Evans said you should stay back here. I and Jim will come again. Likewise, he told, and they hurried to get all the amount back. Mr. Fred Carter informs her, your father told me to stay. She replied, you need not unless you want to. So, this is the story of double dealing. Thank you all.